Australians' tax bill. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. Still working through my stein of coffee, recovering after the cash ban so easily getting through the House of Reps, and I thought we would finish the afternoon by having a look at this article about the debt book from the ATO. So 45 billion is outstanding as Australians owe more than ever. Now, I would argue this could be a sign of just the cash flowing through the economy, particularly to small businesses. Tax isn't something, as a small business owner, you want to avoid paying. But sometimes you just don't have the money. Maybe a bill or another bill has come in real quick, or something is outstanding, or a client just hasn't paid you. In construction, it's called paid when paid, which is completely illegal, but it doesn't mean it does not happen. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced paid when paid, if you're still encountering it today. So let's read through this. The Australian Taxation Office is under pressure to recoup more revenue, with figures showing debt owed by Australians to the tax man has hit record levels. On Wednesday, Tax Commissioner Chris Jordan used parliamentary privilege during Senate estimates to hit back at what he labelled sensational media reporting about the way ATO whistleblowers Richard Boyle and Ron Sharmir had been treated after making allegations of misconduct about the office. This is interesting because when I was doing Uber, I gave a lift to a gentleman who did consulting with the ATO, and he said it was horrific. He said it was horrific in there. I mean, we've got a cash ban to address the black economy, which is pretty much just to increase tax revenue. That's what it is, just to increase revenue. I remember when they brought in monthly payments. And as a small business person, that was just a nightmare for cash flow. Particularly in the construction game. Oh, getting paid on time. Such a rarity. After Mr. Jordan's testimony, Green Senator Peter Wilson requested the Secretariat of the State Economics Legislation Committee have the senators sitting on the committee consider whether Mr. Jordan's opening statement could be expunged from the Hansard record. Why is it, I'm not surprised, a Green senator has a hyphen last name? Just an observation. Senator Wilson requested this happen given information provided by Mr. Jordan went beyond what was public knowledge, was subject to pending court proceedings, and the individuals named had no immediate right of reply. The committee is considering the request. Well, yes, I may be making fun of the senator, but they have raised a very good point. Mr. Jordan on Wednesday also told Senate estimates the ATO, which has an operating budget of $3.9 billion, had a debt book that had grown to a record $45 billion. This included debts owed across all taxpayer categories, including collectible debt, insolvency debt, and debt subject to objection or appeal, which Mr. Jordan said would grow if the tax office did not move to collect money it felt was owed by taxpayers. Collectible debt, that is debt owed by individuals, businesses, and super funds, has now reached a record $26.6 billion, up from almost $24 billion it recorded in 2017-2018. So what is that telling you guys? What that tells me is maybe they're trying to collect too much. Maybe they're trying to collect too much. Maybe they should cut some other services. I'm sure we could all list a few departments that could get some savings. $3.9 billion, that's a lot of money. Just cut $1 billion off that. ABC, cut that in half, maybe amalgamate it with SPS. What do you know? Why not? Within that figure, the majority of collectible debt is still owed by small business. They owe the ATO about $16.5 billion in debt, up from $15.1 billion the year before. Now, this morning, I spoke about people, or the smart money leaving the retail sector. Before that, I've discussed the retail recession many times. What's a small business? What's a big employer in the workforce? Retail. There you go. Do you think that could be a sign of cash flow issues, perhaps? Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. The total amount for insolvency debt was $7.5 billion, while debt subject to objection or appeal was $11.3 billion. The ATO said that last financial year, $1.4 billion of debt was uneconomical to pursue, while $2.8 billion was irrecoverable at law. So the activities, collectible debt, it's gone up. Debt subject to appeal has gone up. Insolvency has gone up. Uneconomic has gone up. Irrecoverable, has gone down. I guess that's one good thing. The ATO says audit activities are having an impact. In 2018-19, the ATO said it raised $15.3 billion from audit activities alone. The ATO issued income tax refunds with a total value of $14.31 billion, and the activity statement refunds worth $64 billion. Okay, so this is $100 billion worth of money that the tax department is processing and keeping out of the economy because of inefficiencies in the system. This isn't a good thing. Don't think it's great that the money's coming back. It's just money that, people rightfully should have and should have access to that has been gobbled up by the department and they're holding on to it. So net tax collections in 2018-19 were $426 billion, up $29.2 billion, 7.4% over the previous year, and $8.3 billion above the amount expected at the time of the 18-19 budget. Fantastic. If they're 2% up, they should give us all a tax discount. Shouldn't we get a bonus? Shouldn't they find some savings? Maybe use that to pay for some redundancies. Within this, company tax collections increased by $9 billion, 10% in 18-19. The ATO said the company tax outcome was $4.5 billion above the budget forecast, largely reflecting higher than expected mining profits due to high commodity prices. Well, here you go. This is something we have discussed before, and I'm just going to bring up over here trading economics, and we will go here and we'll have a look. We'll go to the front page. Let's look at commodities. We'll look at more, and we will just look at one commodity I think is quite important to the Australian economy. And, cheers the Stein if you know what I'm going to talk about. And it's iron ore. Iron ore. Once that loads up, we'll have a look. Here's the price. You may think, wow, it's dropped since July, and it has. It certainly has gone down from $120. But if we look at 5 years, 10 years, it's still doing okay. The budget was based on a figure of $50, the government budget. Now, if we look at one of my favorite websites, the Observatory of Economic Complexity, you can see a portion of our exports were 20% iron ore. Now, every moment or every portion that it's above that $50 that the federal budget was set is a greater windfall for the government budget and a greater windfall for the tax department as well. So that's why any claims of one government being better at managing their budget than another, I'm becoming more and more skeptical and cynical about it all. So there were 11.6 million individuals not in business in the 2018-19. Total individual tax collection grew by $16.7 billion, $5.7 billion above the budget forecasts, which the ATO said partly reflected higher than expected capital gains and dividend income, and lower deductions being claimed. Superannuation income tax collections increased 4.3%, and GST collections increased by $2 billion, although the GST figure was still $2.2 billion below the budget forecast because of weaker than expected growth in consumption and dwelling investment. So there you go. Maybe the GST is more of a lead indicator of where the rest will go. That's something to keep in mind. Excise collections were $0.6 billion, higher than 2017-2018. The agency said its renewed focus on work-related expenses, including greater publicity of its review and audit activities, had seen an estimated an estimated revenue impact of $560 million over the past 2 years. Fight against multinationals fraud. The ATO's main group hunting large corporations and multinationals, the Tax Avoidance Task Force, raised $1.9 billion in liabilities and $1.1 billion in cash collections. But the ATO had in some cases opted to settle with some larger companies that disputed tax bills rather than fight them out in court. Well, there you go, that's it. Because they've got the deep pockets. What does that tell you? One rule for them, another rule for us. In the public group, the multinational business line, the taxman settled with 98 companies in 2018-19. It had originally hit these companies with $3.5 billion worth of tax bills, but it ended up collecting $1.9 billion. In the privately owned and wealthy groups business line, it had 254 settlement cases. It originally hit them with $232 million worth of tax bills, but in the end settled on $124 million. The agency's total legal expenditures for 18-19 increased by $6.4 million or 7% when compared to the previous year. The largest increase seen in the costs of briefs to counsel and other professionals' fees paid. This is primarily due to increased volume and complexity of cases, including the Tax Avoidance Task Force and other compliance activities, the ATO said in its report. In 2018-19, the ATO also conducted its own internal fraud investigations. It said it assessed 319 allegations or reports, of which 74 were substantiated, 134 were unsubstantiated, 70 were not able to be determined, and 112 remain open at the end of the year. Unauthorized access continued to be the largest category of substantiated allegations and predominantly involved an employee accessing their own records, those of their family members or other people known to them. That's the thing. I mean, accessing your own records you could get done for. I've heard of this happening in Queensland Health as well. It's a bit ludicrous, but you can understand. During 2018-19, there were 34 occasions on which information was disclosed to ministers. 1 occasion to the Treasurer, 13 occasions to the Minister for Review and Financial Services, and 20 occasions to the Assistant Treasurer. So taxpayer complaints and objections. The ATO received 19,826 complaints, inclusive of IGTO complaints, in 2018-19, the majority of which related to income tax. In 2018-19, there were 37.6 million returns lodged and 530,000 adjustments arising out of audits. The ATO said greater use of advanced analytics and automation has led to increased review and audit activities for individuals not in business. Taxpayers can also formally object to ATO decisions. The ATO said it resolved more than 26,000 objections, which was a high number compared to the year before, when there were 24,350 objections. There were 441 applications for review or appeal to the AAT or other courts in 2018-19, with 102 decisions made either in relation to these applications or applications made in earlier years, and the rest resolved prior to the court hearing. Under the Commonwealth Scheme for Compensation for Detriment Caused by Defective Administration, compensation may be paid to an individual, company or other organisation that has experienced detriment as a result of the ATO's defective actions or inactions. I mean, can we claim that for, just the general behaviour of our politicians? Because that sounds pretty good. ATO payments under the scheme are discretionary, and Senate estimates was told on Wednesday anyone receiving compensation was typically asked to sign an agreement that they would not disclose the case thereafter. I don't like the idea of that. It should be made public. Why do the civil servants in the ATO get away with it? In 2018-19, the ATO registered 182 compensation cases and finalised 167, with 79 resulting in compensation being offered. The total amount of compensation made was $2.27 million. The median payment was $193, and the average was $7,496. Wow. They're being so generous. I mean, there you go, guys. I think the fact that this is mainly, a large portion of it is from small business, is telling. The fact that GST revenue is down, I'd say, is a lead indicator of where things are headed. What do you think, guys? Where do you reckon it's going? So please let me know in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to my newest patrons. I really appreciate your support. If you like the content and want to help the channel, I have a Patreon and Subscribestar where you can make a small monthly contribution. I also have referral links where if you buy something, I get a commission, or PayPal and other means that you can also use if you prefer. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate the support, and it makes it easier for me to keep producing content. Take care, everyone. And before I go, I plan to do a live stream later tonight of the debate in the Parliament for the cash ban. So sign on if you're around. Take care.